What's going on? Welcome to Unlocking Your Inner Strength. In these episodes, I share with you insights and inspirations that have come to me on my path in life, and hopefully they can be a welcome hand of guidance as you move along your journey. I teach because I'm passionate about my message. I teach because it helps me to learn more deeply. Thanks for sharing a few minutes of your time with me for this week's episode, and without further ado, here is this week's show. What's up, everybody? It's Kyle back again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode 254. Had a great vacation down in Florida. We did a family road trip, which brought back a lot of memories, a lot of good stories on that. I'll probably do a couple episodes on that next week. Before I dive into this fasting episode, which I haven't done just a purely fasting-based podcast episode in a while, but I have a few topics I want to cover. Some public service announcements. We are having this has to be the 8th or 9th annual Fat Shredder Contest at Newell Strength. It begins on the 19th of this month. It's filling up. It's a great thing. It's 6 weeks. You get the fasting coaching if you want that. You get unlimited workouts with us. It's team-based. It gets you ready. We take you right up to Memorial Day weekend. So if you got, 10 to 20 pounds, you want to drop within that time frame, totally doable, and it could be also a launching point to something, for the rest of your life. So that's April 19th. If you're interested, just shoot me a message. May 3rd is when the next Panda will be starting. This is Panda number 7. I'm always updating the information. Got some new stuff in this one. I'll be taking about 12 people in this, so that's May 3rd. In mid-May, I'll be starting the first Masters of the Mental Verse course. Probably going to take 10 people into that. It's the first time I'm running it. A lot of mind map material, mind map stuff, goal setting stuff, visualization stuff, all things the brain that I love. So that's going to be pretty cool as well. Now, let's dive into the fasting. The more I listen to experts, the more I realize that I am one of the world's leading experts in fasting. Because I hear stuff from so-called nutrition experts and whatnot. When they talk about fasting, that just doesn't make any sense. And you can tell that they haven't actually tried it to any large degree. So let me start. I've got two main things I want to talk about with, they're finally coming for fasting. I guess I'll start with that aspect of it. Fasting is so simple, right? And what I try to do with the Panda Diet book in the program is keep it simple and teach simple. Teach the principles. And up until last week, it was like, okay, those people out there, right, that have the North American diet mentality, that review nutrition and dieting as a religion, they haven't necessarily been able to penetrate fasting, right? Because those that do try to do that haven't done it before to any large degree or any extended period of time. So they can't really speak about it, right? It just goes against their complexity, the stuff that they want to make more complex. So they'd attack it from that issue, or you can lose muscle, go into starvation mode, all stuff that's been disproven and I disproved in the book. So they have finally found a way, and it's comical to me to try to attack fasting. So while we were on vacation, I wasn't really on social media at all. I did respond to this one question just because it was interesting. Just saw it pop up on my alert. But I guess in another fasting group, people were saying, well, even when you smell food, and that plane is leaving a big chemtrail as I'm sitting here watching this. It's pretty amazing, all the way across the sky. But Mike Double V had posted, in another fasting group he's in, they said, well, even just smelling food is going to raise your insulin levels. So you can never truly be fasted, these purists claim. And I thought about it, and when I responded, I said, guys, there's a reason I don't teach a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff with things like fasting or mindset, some of the stuff I'll go a little bit more in depth, but I try to keep it simple because I don't want people to get confused. So, yes, it is true that smelling food can raise insulin levels. It is also true that just thinking about food can raise insulin levels. That's not what you're fasting from, though. What is the definition of a fast? It's to abstain from something. Like if you want a social media fast, you're going to stay off social media. If you want a TV fast, you're going to stay off TV. Doesn't mean it might not pop it through your head. So with panda fasting or fasting in general, you're not fasting from insulin. That is the main physiological effect is you're going to keep insulin levels much, much lower, which has huge benefits. I'm reading a lot of stuff about insulin resistance now and disease, which I'll be teaching a lot in the next Panda. But that you're not fasting from insulin, you're fasting from food, right? If it was the case that you cannot be fasted just because you thought about food or you smelled food, nobody, including Jesus, would have ever fasted before in their life. Because I'm sure in the 40-day fast, Jesus thought about food. I'm sure he smelled food. So the simple way to knock that argument down is you're not fasting from insulin, you're fasting from food. Reducing insulin and making you more insulin sensitive. Because even when you get an insulin hit, let's call it, from smelling food or thinking about food, it's very minimal. It's not like it's going to be raised all day or chronically elevated. So you're fasting for food, you got to remember that. Don't get caught up in the minutia. Now, these type of people, there's a term called orthorexia. And these are the type of people, and I used to be like this. I used to have this, right? That they're obsessed over their macronutrients and they're obsessed over what type of foods they eat. And these are the type of people that are really entrenched in the North American diet mentality. People that have orthorexia and they're obsessed with eating clean and all this stuff. And it's a big hit to their ego when they realize it's not that important. Measuring everything, weighing everything, trying to micromanage. You think you can micromanage your body by that degree just by counting your calories? It's silly because you can eat 1,000 calories on vacation and 1,000 calories in a stressful work week, and it's going to have two different effects within your body. So it's just short-sighted thinking. But remember, with fasting, you're not fasting from insulin. You're fasting from food. The goal is to keep the goal the goal. You can get so sidewinded and caught up with minutia and science that you would never begin. But I've had plenty of people that have gone through the Panda Challenge that the results speak for themselves. And yes, I know they think about food, they talk about food, they smell food, they see commercials when they're not eating, but the results speak for themselves. You're fasting from food. Keep it straight. Now, next thing, when I mentioned at the beginning, Coach Mike sent me a podcast, a Joe Rogan podcast. I'm listening to well-respected fitness expert, nutrition expert, and smart guy, marxism. But then they started talking about fasting. And this is where they kind of lost me because they don't have the science to back up anything they're talking about with fasting. So I guess this guy, marxism, came out with a new book called 2 Meals a Day. Now, first of all, nobody should be eating more than twice a day. I'm very adamant about that. You could eat more than twice a day. But if health is your main goal, nobody on the face of the planet should be eating more than twice a day. If health is your main goal. If you want to put on massive amounts of size, then I might tweak that a little bit. But I would still try to keep you in some type of fasted state the majority of the time. But 2 meals a day was silly. And then Joe Rogan starts saying, well, what about muscle loss when you do these longer fasts? And, like a 3-day fast or a 4-day fast. He says, oh, yeah, that's going to happen. But I don't advise people to do that. It's dangerous. 36 hours is probably the max that I would recommend for fasting. And meanwhile, this guy's wife does a 7-day fast every year, and she's completely fine, and he acknowledged that. So he's saying going beyond 36 is going to be dangerous for most people. This is just silly, because earlier in the interview, he talked about people as we went through evolution and all that, would have to go 4 or 5 days without eating before they killed another animal or found some type of vegetation to eat, right? And they were just fine. They survived. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would have died if people went more than 36 hours. If you went more than 36 hours and it was dangerous for the human condition, human beings would have gone extinct long ago. So no, it's not dangerous at all. They're talking about muscle loss, and this is, again, where they don't understand the science. Most people out there, even so-called experts, I've talked about this before. I've talked about it 1,000 times. When you start getting into these longer fasts, growth hormone will go up 2,000 to 3,000%. Luteinizing hormone will go up to 67%. That's a precursor to testosterone, which is a very anabolic hormone. When you eat and you're more insulin sensitive, the longer you do this fasting, you become more insulin sensitive. It's easier to retain and put on muscle. If you couple that with working out in a fasted state, that makes you more insulin sensitive as well. Now, what that insulin sensitivity does over compounding time, when you do eat, it's kind of directing and signaling the food where to go. And we want it to go more towards the muscle, not towards body fat. You can't do that if you're insulin resistant. You cannot shuttle it towards muscle. Now, when I did work with JB at Rutgers years ago, so that's 2003 now, 18 summers ago, that's pretty crazy. But these were high-level Division I football players. And they could get away, a lot of these guys, with eating whatever they want, eating as often as they wanted, and they would still be shredded. So they were blessed with great insulin sensitivity, let's say, and calorie partitioning. So calorie partitioning, again, is where is the food getting the signal? Where is it going? Fat or muscle, basically. So that's what I have for you guys with fasting. I'm very confident in the system that I put together and backed up by science. But the main thing is real-world experience and application, not just with myself, but at this point, people that got the book, you're talking a couple hundred people that have been through the program. Results have been phenomenal. I see their blood work. Blood work has been phenomenal. Mood and attitude improve. Sustainability, long-term habit formation is all there. So no, it's not dangerous. Yes, even if you think about food or smell food, you are still fasting because you're fasting from food, not insulin. Insulin is an effect. Okay, keeping insulin lower is an effect from fasting from food. So don't get that twisted. Just a reminder before I sign off, we have the Fat Shredder starting at Newell Strength April 19th. The next Panda Challenge is starting May 3rd. I'll start taking applications for that soon. In mid-May, I am starting Masters of the Mentalverse, which will be another 6-week course all about mind map and mindset and brain science that you can use. And I'll keep it simple so you can apply it just like you do with the fasting. So keep an eye out for that. All right, guys. Don't forget the like button, hit the share button, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe on iTunes if you haven't already. You all have a great day. You wrote for today's episode. I appreciate you and your time truly. I'm humbled and honored if you made it to the end of this episode. Don't forget, you can go to kylenewell.com for your free ebook written by yours truly on getting started with fasting, infused with 5 mind map principles never before seen. This is something I have not given out to anybody else that'll help you see the light when it comes to your fasting journey and creating better health, both physically and internally. Remember, it's all about the mind, body, and spirit. Until next week, peace.